Ethan Cole wasn't born into wealth. He was born into noise, the sound of generators in a crowded neighborhood, the shouts of traders outside his window, and the echo of his own determination. Was the kind of man who believed that brilliance could outshine circumstance. By day, he repaired old computers for people who could barely pay. By night, he built something only he could see, a vision, a dream, a startup he believed would change the world. Sleep was a luxury he couldn't afford. Coffee his only friend. And yet, through all the chaos, there was her, Sophia. She was the warmth in his cold nights, beautiful, ambitious, and full of belief. She'd often sit beside him as he worked, sketching ideas on scraps of paper, laughing at his tired jokes, whispering, "One day the world will know your name." Those words were his fuel. He didn't care about the sleepless nights or the empty wallet, because he had her. They had each other. Their love was built on dreams and struggle, the kind of bond that felt unbreakable. Until life tested it, Ethan's invention began to attract attention. Whispers in the tech world, rumors of a young genius who was building something revolutionary. That's when he appeared at Mr. Graham, the kind of man who could buy silence with a signature. Wealthy, charming, and dangerous, offered Ethan a deal, millions in exchange for full control of his project. But Ethan refused. "My dream isn't for sale," he said. Graham smiled. "Everyone says that, until they see what money can do." Sophia's smile began to fade after that. The late-night talks turned into quiet arguments. The laughter disappeared under the weight of unpaid bills. She wanted more, stability, comfort, a life that didn't depend on hope, and Graham knew exactly what to say. He found her weakness, fear. He offered her everything Ethan couldn't. Luxury, status, escape. He told her Ethan was naive, that he'd never make it without help. Slowly, the light in her eyes began to change. Ethan didn't notice, or maybe he didn't want to. He was too busy fighting to make his dream real, too blind to see that the person he loved most was slipping away. Then came the night that broke him. Tea was raining hard. He rushed home from the lab, excited to show Sophia his final breakthrough. But she wasn't there. Her phone, off. Her clothes, gone. And his laptop, empty. The files, the blueprints, everything erased. Hours later, he saw the news. Mr. Graham's company had just unveiled a new invention, his invention. And standing beside Graham on the stage was Sophia. Ethan watched in silence, the rain soaking through his shirt as the woman he loved smiled for cameras, pretending she'd never known him. When she finally came back to their apartment to collect the last of her things, he stood at the door, numb, speechless. "You said you believed in me," he whispered. She couldn't look him in the eye. "I did, Ethan. But belief doesn't pay the bills." And just like that, she was gone. The love that once gave him strength now left him hollow. The woman who once built him up had just destroyed everything he had. But what she didn't know was that betrayal doesn't end a man like Ethan. He creates one. Rock bottom doesn't make noise. It just breaks you quietly. For Ethan Cole, the world went silent after Sophia's betrayal. The man who once dreamed of changing the world was now a shadow, broke, humiliated, and forgotten. His friends disappeared. His name became a warning in the tech world, the boy who trusted the wrong people. His prototype was stolen, his reputation destroyed, and his heart empty. He spent weeks locked inside his small apartment, staring at his desk, the same desk where he once believed he'd build a future. But all that was left were shattered dreams and memories of her smile. Then one night, as he sat in the dark, he whispered to himself, "They took everything, but my mind." And that one sentence became the spark. He sold what little he had, bought a new laptop, and started again, this time under a different name. No investors. No partners. No distractions. Just Ethan. And his purpose days turned into nights. Nights turned into years. He failed more times than he could count, but each failure taught him something. He studied harder, worked longer, and created smarter. The world didn't know his name anymore, but soon they would know his work. He built a company from his tiny apartment, one code at a time. And this time he wasn't just building technology, he was building legacy. What he created next changed everything. Self-learning AI systems so advanced it caught the attention of major corporations and governments. They called it Neurotech. And behind it all was the same man everyone once laughed at, Ethan Cole. Investors begged to buy in. Tech magazines wanted interviews. But Ethan stayed quiet. He didn't need fame, he needed freedom. Years passed. Ethan Cole became a name people spoke with awe and envy. From a man who once walked through rain with torn shoes, to a billionaire whose private jet carried him above the clouds, owned skyscrapers now, but he never forgot the one-room apartment that started it all, could buy anything, go anywhere, and yet, something inside him remained frozen. Tea meetings. People saw confidence. But behind those sharp suits and calm smiles was a man still. Haunted by the echo of a single night, the night she left. Money healed my image, he once told his assistant quietly, but not my heart. Meanwhile, far away, Sophia's world began to crumble. Mr. Graham's company, the empire built on Ethan's stolen idea, started to fall apart. Fraud. Lawsuits. Corruption. One by one, the headlines tore down everything they had built. Graham fled the country, leaving Sophia behind to face the chaos. The same people who once admired her now avoided her calls. The mansion was sold, the cars repossessed. And the woman who once traded love for luxury now had neither. One morning, as she sat in a small cafe, she saw a magazine lying on a nearby table. On the cover, Ethan Cole. The headline read, "The Billionaire Who Built an Empire from Betrayal." Her hands trembled as she picked it up. He looked different, older, stronger, untouchable. But those eyes, she still recognized them. Regret filled her heart like a storm she could no longer control. And for the first time in years, Sophia whispered his name. Ethan. The man she once left behind had become everything she ever wanted, and everything she could never have again. The years had been kind to Ethan, at least on the outside, was no longer the boy who once dreamed by a cracked laptop. Now he stood in a glass tower that touched the sky, surrounded by applause, cameras, and flashing lights. It was his night. The 10th anniversary of Neurotech, his billion-dollar empire. The ballroom glittered with elegance. Investors, celebrities, and world leaders filled the room, celebrating the man who turned betrayal into brilliance. Ethan stood at the center of it all, smiling for photos, calm, untouchable. But then, through the crowd, his smile froze. Because he saw her. Sophia. She looked different, older, fragile, yet still hauntingly familiar. Her once perfect posture now carried the weight of guilt. Their eyes met and time stopped. She hesitated, then walked toward him, clutching her purse like a lifeline. "Ethan, it's been a long time." The room faded. All he could hear was the echo of rain from that night, the night she left. He didn't answer. He simply nodded, then turned away. But later that evening, he found her waiting by his office door, nervous, trembling. "Please," she whispered, "just give me 5 minutes." He let her in. The city lights glowed through the tall windows as they stood in silence. Sophia took a deep breath, her voice breaking. "I made the worst mistake of my life, Ethan. I thought money could replace peace, but it never did." He didn't move, didn't speak. His face was unreadable, cold, composed, empty. "You didn't just betray me, Sophia," he said quietly. "You killed the part of me that believed in love." Tears streamed down her face, but he didn't look away. The silence that followed was heavier than words. "I don't expect you to forgive me," she said softly. "I just wanted you to know I still live with what I did." He finally looked at her, not with anger, but with something deeper. "Pity. You can't fix the past, Sophia. But maybe you can fix what's left of you." Then, without explanation, he offered her a small card, a position, project consultant, Neurotech Foundation. She looked at it, stunned. "You're giving me a job?" "I'm giving you a chance," he said. "Don't waste it." Weeks turned into months. Sophia worked quietly, avoiding gossip, earning respect through humility. She didn't ask for favors or attention, she just worked. People noticed. Something changed in Ethan, too. The once distant, icy CEO began to smile more. He funded charities anonymously, spent time mentoring young inventors. Perhaps forgiveness had done what success never could. It had made him human again. Sophia saw him one evening after work and said softly, I don't deserve your kindness." "You don't," he replied. "But I learned that forgiveness frees the one who gives it." Tears welled up in her eyes. She realized he'd moved on. Truly, completely, he wasn't the man she left. He was something far greater. But that night, Sophia stayed behind in the office. She sat alone at her desk, staring at an envelope in her bag, one she hadn't dared to give him. Inside were legal documents. She had discovered something months earlier. Mr. Graham, before his empire collapsed, had filed a hidden ownership clause in Ethan's early work, one that could legally strip Ethan of everything if the wrong hands ever found it. And those hands now belonged to Graham's ruthless son, who had resurfaced, ready to reclaim. Neurotech, Sophia's return hadn't been about getting Ethan back. It was about saving him. She'd been tracking the case quietly, using her remaining contacts to destroy the evidence before it reached court. She didn't want him to know. She didn't want credit. This time her loyalty was silent. As she left the office that night, she whispered, "Maybe I can't undo what I did, but I can protect what he built." Ethan never found out. Not until weeks later, when his legal team discovered the attempted takeover and traced it back to Sophia's quiet intervention. He stood by the window again, just like years ago, holding her resignation letter in his hand. At the bottom, she had written one line: "I couldn't be the woman who destroyed you twice." Ethan smiled faintly, the city lights reflecting in his eyes. This time the past hadn't come to break him, it had come to set him free. The truth came to Ethan quietly, like a whisper he almost didn't hear. When his legal team showed him the documents, he sat there for a long time, staring at Sophia's signature at the bottom. The woman who once betrayed him had now saved everything he built. Not for money, not for fame, but to make things right. She was gone before he could thank her. Her office, empty. Her badge, returned. Only a short letter left behind. "I never deserved your forgiveness, Ethan. But thank you for giving me the chance to forgive myself." He folded the paper slowly, and for the first time in years he smiled. Not the smile of success, but of release. Months later, Neurotech was stronger than ever. Ethan had expanded his company into something more than business. It had become a movement, launched scholarships, built schools, and opened innovation hubs for young dreamers who reminded him of himself. Kids with big ideas and no support, named at the Cole Foundation. Every time a student graduated, he'd think of the girl who once told him, "One day, the world will know your name." And now it did. Somewhere far from the city lights, Sophia lived a quiet life. She worked with a small nonprofit, helping women rebuild their lives after loss and failure. Her days were simple, her nights peaceful. One evening, she saw a televised interview, Ethan Cole speaking at a global summit about forgiveness and perseverance. The interviewer asked, "If you could go back and change one thing, what would it be?" He paused, then said, "Nothing. Because every wound gave me wisdom. Every betrayal gave me direction." Then he smiled faintly and added, "And sometimes the people who break you are the ones who teach you how to rebuild stronger." Sophia turned off the TV and wiped a tear from her cheek. For the first time, her heart didn't ache. It felt light. One night, Ethan returned to the small apartment where it all began. The cracked walls, the broken chair, the same window where he once watched the city lights and dreamed. He stood there alone, holding a framed photo of himself and Sophia from years ago, before the pain, before the empire. He placed it on the old desk and whispered, "Thank you for leaving." Because if she hadn't, he would have never become the man he was. Years later, Ethan stood before a crowd of young inventors at the Cole Foundation's annual summit, told them, "The world will try to break you. It'll betray you, test you, doubt you. But every scar you carry can either be your excuse or your reason to rise." The hall erupted in applause.